are listening to Cartoon Buffoons with me, Vin Forte, and...
me, Mady G!
But it's not just us today.
No, it's not.
Oh my god, who is it?
It's, shit, I forgot my name. Goodbye, folks. It's been great. It's been a fun time.
That was Cartoon Buffoons. This has been...
No, my name's Tynesha. Usually on the internet's nearshot. Since I was a little stupid, I've used that handle, and I still do. But yes, also a cartoon buffoon up in this piece. Yay!
Sure, cartoon buffoon, 100%.
Oh my gosh, I'm so ready. I'm over here, got the nervous sweats, the like happy nervous sweats, or you just like, I hope I don't talk people to death.
No, please. We've invited you on this show. This is for you to talk.
Yes, audio mediums. Yes, I'm so ready. Well, I don't know you guys, but like we were talking before, Billy and Mandy, I don't know what you guys have planned, but Billy and Mandy is now all that I can think about.
Yeah, we have nothing planned, so yeah.
God, yes. It's just such a delicious weird show. Like, the one episode that always comes to my mind is the Valhalla episode. The fucking Viking episode. You guys remember that one?
No.
I don't think that one's coming off the top of my head, though. I don't know if that one's one I've seen a lot.
Okay, it's the one. It's one of the ones I remember because like it's literally it's mostly focused on Billy, and he basically dies. He basically dies and has his body switch with a Viking, and he's just dicking around in Valhalla. I think the best scene that I remember from that show, and why this show is it's just such a delicious amount of disturbing. But he's basically just eating, in Valhalla, you basically Viking heaven. You just eat forever, and there was this gag in there where it's just Billy, how about we go do something else? And he's just hold on a second, and he tries to put an entire ham in his face, but the food is he ate so much that his esophagus is stopped up by food, and it's really gross. See, I don't know.
Ugh, geez, they do a lot of weird eating stuff with that show, don't they? There's the Chocolate Sailor episode.
Oh my god, that
was one that I think it aired just a ton, and I saw that a bunch when I was a kid, and I always was this one's so messed up. I loved it.
It's so weird because he's literally just getting devoured, but also eating himself. It's something else.
There was a lot of cannibalism shit going on in cartoons, and I think that aesthetically it's fascinating, but so creepy, right?
It really is, and I look like that. That is definitely one of those shows that definitely shaped my sense of humor. I think it's just I just have I feel like I've always had this fascination with macabre and grotesque things, but seeing making that stuff that normally you would be why? It makes it hilarious.
Oh yeah, I mean that's how you and I first met too, is because we both love drawing gross shit, and we're yes.
You're just yes, this make me laugh, this nasty boy.
And then because I remember seeing your film with the stop motion film with the monkey.
Oh, that one.
I was she's my new best friend. Hello. This is horrifying and great. Oh my god.
Just I think I like that. I felt the same seeing your art too. I was just what is this delicious stuff? I must talk to them. And it's just it's this kind of thing that I love about cartoons, is just exaggerating things and pointing out things that you wouldn't normally give a shit about, and it just brings it because everything is so exaggerated. It just brings it to the forefront, and just I don't know. It's beautiful. It's
the exaggeration. It highlights subtle stuff expressions and all kinds of things. And I think that Billy and Mandy did a really good job with that too. They used Foley and sound effects and weird boarding, I think, to their advantage a lot more than a lot of other shows were doing at the time.
For sure.
I don't know if I said it before on the show, but I think Craig McCracken has an issue with going a bit heavy-handed on the sound effects.
It's just like, for me with Craig McCracken stuff, it's just like, to some extent I get it, because it's like, oh, it's like exaggerative or whatever, but it's like, I don't know, for me it like takes me out of it. But like with like shows like Billy and Mandy, and even I know you guys like talked about like when you guys were talking about Ed and Eddie, like just like the like it's exaggerated, but like in a finesse kind of way. You know what I mean?
It's like just dirty enough.
Exactly. Like that's the way I would put it, because it's like it's enough to make you be like, wait, why is this here? But it's just like the way, like with the mixing or just like whatever specific thing they put, is just enough for you to like accept it, but also enough to like make you laugh, you know?
Well, because like,
yeah, and then also, oh, I'm sorry, Vin, you go ahead.
Well, because like kids know kids know shit is grimy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
kids know like the world is grimy, so they gravitate to that, which is why it works for kids. And some adults look at it and they go, "Oh, that's disgusting," but kids know what's up.
Exactly, like yeah, like it's. I think the thing that's like great, and like, I don't know, there's this weird part of me, like when I look at like knowing myself now as a cartoon viewer and then looking at myself then as a cartoon viewer, it's like the things that like kids just know what's funny, and like, and it's so pure, because it's just the one, I think the biggest factor with like things like Billy and Mandy and in terms of like the Foley is just, it's unexpected. And like a kid like, you know what I mean? A kid like purely is just like, this is funny because this is incorrect. You know what I mean?
Well, because
Yeah,
they also
exactly.
aim for silly too. Like I was talking, because I was saying before, I help out with a comedy show in the city, and we were talking just the other day about how like, oh, is this joke too stupid or too silly? And we kind of looked at each other and we're just like, well, nothing beats silly. Like that's about it. Like it kind of ends there.
I mean, you have some of the most successful comedians out there have like built their careers on being silly.
Yeah, like just straight goofiness. You know what I mean? It's just like nobody's like expect, like no group is singled out. Nobody, not really under anybody's expense. And like I think that's why like I can go back to. I mean, I'm sure like there's parts of the show that like haven't aged as well, but like generally, like you just look at the show and like it just focuses on that, and like just doing.
It focuses on unreality a lot, like rather than reality, more about unreality.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah, no, that's exactly it, because there's and it's funny because it's loosely structured as little boy, little girl, they're wacky, you know, third character. And then, you know, it's got this like very loose structure that's supposed to like kind of mirror us, but like it's the like every episode is just something that's like completely, I mean, it's all underworld stuff. It's stuff you don't really have a reference for. So therefore, like you just like, you accept it just because you know that this world doesn't exactly reflect yours. You know what I mean?
It's like part of its universe.
Yeah.
And it's also really nice because it provided a feminine, to some extent, girl character, like a femme presenting kind of girl character that wasn't stereotypical at the same time. Like she wore pink and stuff, but she was also like a maniac, like an angry devil.
Yeah, and the interesting thing, and it wasn't like her mania or her, like, you know, sociopathy, I guess you would put it. I don't know if that's the correct term, but
or like her weird. I think sociopathy might be a little closer to it. Yeah, like her like weird. She's very deadpan.
She's like detached from that kind of stuff.
Yeah, very detached. She's really detached. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, but the interesting thing about it is that it's like not rooted in any. It's like he says, like it's not rooted in any gender like door. It's not like, oh, she's a crazy girl because like she's jealous of the no, like no, she's straight up just like, I want this thing, it's my thing, and like that's, you know. she is one of the only girl characters at the time that really got a chance to be a full character with full motives. Like even from the first episode, like when they quote unquote got Grimm in the first place. Yeah. Oh yeah. Like there was really no. It was just straight up like Mandy being Mandy, and like you just. It really, I think that's the thing that's great about the shows, because like it's hard to see past that stuff when you have, or it's not that it's hard to see past, but it's like all the cartoons we have like play off of things like, you know, what do they look like, what's their gender or whatever. But like, it's strictly with this show, it's like Billy is an idiot and we're going to exaggerate that to the maximum. And then like Mandy is a sociopath and we're going to exaggerate that to the maximum. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not like, oh, Billy's dumb because of this, Billy's dumb because of that. It's like, no, he's just dumb, and like, see what we do with that. See the nuances in that itself, you know?
Yeah, but I also think that they don't even really like fall into stereotypes while doing that too. So like they, like with Billy's like quote unquote dumbness, I think that they do enough with it where it's like something that's very uniquely Billy, especially when it comes to like his relationship with his dad.
Oh my God, his dad.
Billy's dad is like, oh my God, was it Mogar? His like death metal persona. Billy's dad, I think, was like, there was Nurgle, and I think Billy's dad were my favorites.
Oh my God, Nurgle! Oh my God,
Nurgle's adorable, and like, oh God, oh my God, and Billy's mom when she was always having like a breakdown.
Yeah, that was something that was interesting to me because like, and like. That's really interesting because, like, of course, like I think the great thing is, like we were saying, the characters are all like they're like uniquely them, but there is still like, I look back at it and there is still there is a little bit of like parody, like, you know what I mean? It's like it is, I mean, like
there's like an exact replica of Snake Plissken like meets Ash from Evil Dead.
Well, yes. Oh my God, I was.
Like there he is. Oh, what the fuck was his name? I feel like Hostelgado. I feel like as soon as the fucking microphone turns on, my brain goes like like whoops, flatline.
No, it's all clear because oh my God, Hostelgado. And it's funny because that's the great thing is like these characters are so funny and great, but like I didn't get into like Ash the Evil Dead like series until like I don't know, I was like 14 or something. So like, or maybe even later, and like I can look back at that with a new like appreciation, and it just makes it a billion times more. There's just so many like good characters that like stand out, like fucking even Eris.
Oh my God, because that was the first time I had ever like become aware of Eris as like an actual like mythological figure too, and yeah. I can't like imagine Eris in any other way now because I'm just like, oh yeah, like this is her. Like right. that iteration of Eris is the only Eris to me at this point. No,
that's exactly. And there's I'm trying to remember when you guys know the Sinbad, the DreamWorks animated film Sinbad, and it was like kind of about Eris. You guys remember that?
Hey, oh yeah.
And then, like, Eris was kind of like the villain or whatever. And I don't know what time that came out, but, like, I feel like it had to come at either during Billy and Mandy or after Billy and Mandy because...
It came out in 2003.
Oh, God, I'm trying to... now, I don't know. I don't want to put my foot in my mouth.
I think, no, Billy and Mandy was on during then, for sure.
Okay, so around the same time. Well, I must have seen Billy and Mandy first because I was watching Sinbad as like Eris, and I could not think of anything. You know?
Billy and Mandy started in 2000, so it's like
okay, so like coincided a little bit, but like no, I couldn't. I was watching the Sinbad movie. I was like, I can't take this seriously. All I can see Eris as is this like, you know, Valley Girl.
Oh shit, yeah, because I'm looking at because I had never seen the Sinbad movie, and I'm looking at it right now, and like. She's like the exact polar opposite of the Billy and Mandy Eris.
Oh yeah, and I think I guess quote unquote technically she's supposed to be this kind of like in like when you like mythologically she's supposed to be this kind of you know kind of trickster kind of evil mistress, but like Billy and Mandy just like I'm just like no it's this and like.
Well, they're both like quote unquote like sexy ladies. Yeah, you know. She's more like succubus in the dream rather than in Billy and Mandy.
Yeah,
because Billy and Mandy, she got like, wait, does she have a tooth gap? Well, she's got like big weird teeth.
Oh yeah, she's got a gap. Yeah, she got a gap.
Oh, and of course, first thing that Gotta love the like pregnancy edits or like the big belly edits of Eris.
Oh,
First thing I like Google her and it's like there it is. Oh yeah, no, she has a gap sometimes.
Yeah, like it's like I get like, and I think it depends on what they're going. Sometimes they, I mean, I think that's her regular design, but sometimes she doesn't for like
When
if they, she does,
like,
yeah, or if they're doing like a crazy expression or something.
it's inconsistent.
Yeah. Yeah, the show is just like full, like it's, I feel like I can like come up with a different character like and then Jeff the Spider and like shit like that.
Oh my god, the spider episode.
Yeah. I was like, hello, Dad. Like
I still to this day, like, I don't know. I always am a firm believer in taking the spider outside. I have not killed a spider in years. Well, no, that's a lie. I've killed spiders in very specific circumstances.
That's the thing. Like my general policy with spiders is like, hey, you're not fucking with me. We're good. If you're like in my eyeball, we might have an issue. But
yeah, basically, like invading my personal space, we have a problem. But like, if you're just chilling on the wall, put you in a cup, take you outside. Have you ever seen that animation? I would watch it like all the time when I was in high school. Here's a story from North America.
Yes, because oh god, actually, this is weird, but that guy's a Micah alum apparently. Yeah, I was like, what? That's weird because they would show his video all the time in class. And I'm like, why are you keep? And I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. This is the guy. I think he also does something else. He's like a showrunner now or something, or he like contributed.
Made by like a team. I think one of the people on the team was a woman. I think it was like a guy and a woman.
I think so.
Story from North America. If any of y'all viewers,
yeah,
Kristen Lepore.
Yes, that's exactly Kristen Lepore because she's done an episode on Adventure Time for sure.
Oh god, yeah, like from the art style you can totally tell because if you watch that short, it's like, yeah, this fits in really well with like the Flapjack and Adventure Time kind of like crew grouping, because I know there was a lot of like crew crossover between those two shows.
Oh yeah, for sure. And like you can definitely look by the I gotta look through their work now. Yes, Kristen Lepore, like she does a lot of stop motion stuff now, and like if you guys haven't seen it, like the god damn it, what's it called, Late Night Worth Club, she in the more recent one she was in that group, and she does this great short animation. Like I don't know, it's basically just a clay guy and they're like, ooh, you're looking at my butt, I'm just gonna talk to you in a soothing voice, and it's just silly.
It's so different from the story from North America, like her stuff now, because like I'm looking on her website right now, and apparently she was doing stuff for Yo Gabba Gabba.
Oh yeah. I think it's funny because I have I think she's 7 now. I have a 7-year-old cousin, and she
Oh, she did the High Stranger stop motion.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it is.
That's what it was. Oh, the sleek, like greasy little guy with the nude butt. Yes.
He's just a stinky little boy, just sitting there, just like, oh hi, and I'm like, yes.
It's so different from the story from North America video.
It really is. This person has evolved a lot. Oh God, how do we get on this topic? This is great.
No, but it's good. We're talking about cartoons. This is some cartoon buffoonery, and Vin has been like the silent lurker this whole time.
Yeah, I've been creeping around. That's what I've been doing.
Just creeping around. Vin, do you watch a lot of Billy and Mandy growing up?
I did not, because I am a couple years older than both of you, so that was
oh man,
not as under my purview. Though I did watch it. I watched it when it was Grim and Evil.
Oh my god, Grim and Evil! Sorry, okay.
Right? Oh wow.
So Grim and Evil was better. And I personally love both, but Evil Con Carne will always have a special place in my heart. It was way grosser.
Oh yeah, just the conceit of it was way grosser. It was more in line of like Invader Zim, which is something I loved at the time.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, you're so right, because I was like Grim and Evil, and then I was like, oh god, the bear and brain. Oh God.
Yeah, like I know Billy and Mandy gets all the attention. Like I know Billy and Mandy gets all the attention, and maybe rightfully so. But like, to me personally, it will always be a spin-off of Grim and Evil.
Oh wow, that's so. I mean,
weird because Grim and Evil didn't last like nearly as long.
No.
No, I'm looking the first episode 2001, the final episode 2002. Wow, it did not, because it didn't. Oh, that's sad, because it feels like the way I grew up watching, I knew that Grim and Evil was, kind of like I don't want to say precursor, but I knew it was like the one first, and then Billy and Mandy. But I would look at it as like kind of like, because there were crossovers sometimes, and they did like kind of bring it back, and like they're like, goddamn.
Yeah, they tried to bring back Evil Con Carne, and I always liked it.
Yeah.
I always equated that relationship to like, and I guess this would be like the inverse of that, where you had Cow and Chicken and I Am Weasel, and then at a certain point they started like, well, they aired them together, but then like
Cow
I Am
and
Weasel
Chicken
got its
was
own
better.
thing.
Cow and Chicken was better, though.
Oh yeah, Cow and Chicken was definitely way better.
And then there was
definitely the
IR
A show.
Baboon. Also, I didn't realize this until like just now, but Phil LaMarr played Hector Con Carne.
It's kind of great. Like that's
He's always in everything. He's always showing up.
I love that man. He like, if you ever seen him in interviews, he's like, oh, it's just fun.
It's horrible. Like, and it's bizarre to think that he also get his start on Mad TV?
Well,
Yes,
no,
did. Oh
he
my
got
God.
his start in
Michael Keaton.
His very first thing was
Pulp
Fiction, right?
He was the guy who was Martin, I think, who got shot in the face in the back of the car.
Yeah.
Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, like no, but yes, it was that. It was Pulp Fiction, and I'm so glad somebody talked about this, guys, because like you don't know how many times I've been like, haha, Mad TV, and people are like, what? Like,
no, I remember the first couple years of Mad TV, and it was really weird because the first couple years, that's when they like really were trying to be like SNL. Like they were always trying to be SNL, but like they would actually have like a guest host sometimes. Whereas later on, it just became like, hey, we don't really care about guests because that's like, I don't know if they couldn't afford guests or what. But
and honestly, a lot of comedians who came out of there are like nowadays doing arguably better than a lot of the SNL people, in my opinion.
I kind of agree. Like
Phil LaMarr is like in every, he's another like quintessential voice actor that you just hear in everything.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Right, and Jordan Peele.
Key and Peele, yeah. Oh,
yes, he's in that all the time. Like, yeah, he like Phil LaMarr's in video game. He like basically any media, like any piece of media, like Phil LaMarr is I don't know. He's really excelled. And
well, Avatar, and he was in there like a bunch.
Oh yes. Like you can't like really think of, and like I gotta say, guys, like I remember it's so awesome to like hear like first talking about Phil LaMarr right now, because I remember being, I don't know. Like, firstly, I remember realizing that he was one of the first voices that, like, when I was a kid, being like, hey, this guy's a familiar. You know what I mean?
Same, actually. It was him and Tom Kenny for me.
Yes, yeah. Like,
the first ones, I was like, oh, I know this dude. I know this guy, and I know this guy, because I was, like I said, I was watching Mad TV too young. I was watching a lot of things way too young. But just because it was like, oh, it's what's on TV. Haha. And, like... Yeah, he was, because I was watching Mad TV when I was like in middle school, and I was like, oh yeah, him and yeah. It's always exciting when you like realize that cartoons and like voice actors are real people, that real people are behind all that.
That's like for me, the first voice actor I had that moment with was probably Billy West, who's still probably one of my favorite voice actors.
That's a good
I've met him.
He seems very nice.
He's really nice. He's very cordial. I gave him a drawing of Murphy from Rayman. Because he played him in Rayman 3. And he was like, nobody has remembered this. Thank you. And I was like, no problem.
That's so good to hear.
At Comic-Con, yeah.
That's so good to hear. He seems like he's just a chill bug.
He was really chill. Yeah. He is very fastidious about his appearance as well, it would seem.
Really?
I love him because he's one of the few voice actors I've come across where somehow every voice he does, you know it's him, but at the same time, he's nailing that voice. So it's like...
He's the red M&M.
He's the red... But it's like, it's such an enigma where I'll listen to it and I'll be like, yeah, that's definitely Billy West. But somehow, even though I know, like, it's so clearly Billy West, he's also nailing whatever character he's doing.
Oh, absolutely. Like, I think the like, of course, the biggest example that comes to my head is Futurama, because he played like so many fucking voices.
Phil LaMarr in there too.
Yeah. Phil did a lot of voices in that show too. Also,
he was like one of the main characters. He was Hermes.
Yeah, he was Hermes, and like so many other like.
Well, I mean, once Phil LaMarr is in one role in a show, he kind of sneaks in.
They're like, hey, we need this extra
in the booth.
Yeah. They're like, hey, we need this extra. Like, Phil, can you like do something real quick? He's like, yup.
Your impression of him is actually like, yup, well, here I am.
Oh man. I'm so like. Man, I'm so happy. I'm sorry. Like, it makes me so happy to hear like people talking about him in context of Mad TV, because like that was. I mean, it's like you guys were saying, like seeing these like it's just so awesome to like see him develop. Like he's like this huge thing. I think there was actually an animation made, or like, you guys know the Great Big Story.
Great Big Story. Yes.
Yes, they did. They recently did a profile on Phil LaMarr, like just him, and like highlighted him and like talked about his big roles like Samurai Jack, and talked about his like.
Oh yeah, because I saw that floating around where it's like, well, you've heard his voice in all these cartoons, but this is who he is, and like it's Phil, and I'm like, I know you. Yeah, exactly. There's that friend. There's that familiar face.
Yeah, I was like, I was being a real dick in my head. I'm just like, everybody should know him by now. Why are they doing the thing now?
I know. That's why I haven't watched it yet.
I know.
Like, I already know who he is. Like, I don't need.
Right, it's kind of like because I don't know, I don't want to like act like a dick and be like, look at all these normies don't know about Phil, because I know
like your concentration for like most of your life, like you have a whole skill set of meticulously honed skills because of a passion you have for cartoons.
Yeah, that's I love that, man. I'm so glad it came out.
Here at this show, we have a passion for Phil LaMarr.
Yeah. He's a beautiful, wonderful man, and like every like he seems like another one of those people that he'd be like, oh, thanks, you know.
Phil LaMarr seems like he really knows how to take a compliment.
Yeah, I don't know.
He's just one of those guys that you just look at him and just like you have a heart of gold. Watch him secretly be a huge asshole.
I was gonna say, watch like the day after this episode goes up, we read some article about like.
I can't take it. I could. Oh God.
I couldn't take it. Here, as of like Monday, April 16th, 2018, when we're recording this, whenever it comes out, though, Phil LaMarr is an angel amongst
as of this moment.
Yeah, we can't speak for the 17th, but on the 16th, he's great.
On the 16th, our day of Phil LaMarr.
Yeah, on our day of the Phil LaMarr, April 16th.
The Phil LaMarr solstice.
Can we please? I will I will celebrate this. I will dress as Will from fucking Foster's Home. That's how I'm going to celebrate this day.
Oh, that's right. He was Will. Oh my God, he was in everything, and it's just like, and he always plays. Well, no, he doesn't always play the nice guy, because I think in video games he might play some mean men.
Yeah, he's been some bad boys.
He's played some very mean video games.
Yeah, I'm trying to think specifically. Well, a more recent one, I think he was in like Injustice, but he was Alfred in that, so that doesn't count. But
if Jay was on the show, he'd be able to enlighten us. What game was he in? Phil.
Metal Gear Solid.
Metal Gear Solid. Which one?
2 and 4.
2 and 4.
Oh.
He's Vamp.
He's Vamp. That was our video games correspondent, Jim.
Hey. Video games.
MLG Pro 420. You know what? I've got the perfect song for that segment.
Oh,
shit.
It's excellent.
Well, let's cut into that now before we go on to the second half.
Oh, wait, how long have we been talking?
Oh my God, Ben, you're really gonna play that during the break?
No, I won't. I'll play something different.
You can if you want. I don't know.
I don't know about the copyright on Walmart. Yodel
True.
Boy.
Don't put that boy on that.
Well, hello there, little boy. Don't be shy. Step right up on the reasonable guy. Don't be frightened by the look in my eye. I'm just your average evil meteor from out of the sky. Well, I'm just shy and scared in this place. I'm just a fish out of water from outer space. You can see that the trip has left me tired and drained. So why don't you be a pal and bring me some brains? See the dull expression on his face. You've been doing him a favor if you brought him to me. He ain't using his brain, he's just watching TV. Go down to Mr. McGee's. He hasn't had a thought since 43. His brain is the portrait of atrophy. He ain't using it, why not give it to me? Brains, I won't lie. I'll eat the brains till the zombify. Sure, they might think it's deranged, but they won't give it a thought after I've eaten their brain. Brains, it's okay. It's not a matter if it isn't gray. And if at first they think it's strange, they won't think twice if they don't have a brain. Shop. A fortune cookie says that I just can't stop. I suck the noodle right out of their heads, and half an hour later I'm hungry again. Creep into the donut stop, sneak in tiptoe past the cop. Pick me up a cruller and a couple of tea, and any other sweetbreads you happen to see. Brains, I won't lie. I'll eat the brains till the zombify. Sure, they might think it's deranged, but they won't give it a thought after I've eaten their brains, it's okay. It's not a matter if it isn't gray. And if at first they think it's strange, they won't think twice if they don't have a brain. Joy when I need them. Big ones, fat ones, short ones, tall ones. They're so delectable, especially the small ones. No time to cook them in a skillet. My belly's rumbling, I gotta need to fill it. I don't fry them, the heat'll only shrink them. I just grab myself a straw and I drink them. Every single brain in town, but with all these brains I can't help but think that there isn't one left out there to drink. Now fess up, boy, come on, heck. Is there someone that you're trying to protect? Bring her down here to meet her end, and I'll promise I'll be your bestest friend. Brains, I won't lie. I'll eat her brain till she's zombified. Sure, she might think it's deranged, but she won't give it a thought after I've eaten her brains. Brains, it's okay. It's not a matter if it isn't gray. And if at first she thinks it's strange, she won't think twice if she don't have a brain. Brains, bring me her brain. Bring me her brain. Bring me her brain.
All right, so now that we're back with our second half, after all these goofs and gaffs, in our last episode, we were talking about having Tynesha on, also specifically to talk about something that neither Vin and I can talk about. Which is a
vaping, because none of us vape, and you do. So.
I beg to differ. But is the experience of being a cartoonist of color and a cartoon viewer of color, and seeing all this cartoon shit from that perspective, because I can.
Yeah, I'm black, guys. Hi, audience. I'm black.
Who's black? Nisha's black.
Oh no, this is a thing. This is so interesting because, like, I think someone said, and they were speaking specifically to education. They were like, quote, like, being educated unfortunately is seen as like a white coded thing. And then I was thinking, like, you think about other things and think about, like, when you're a black nerdy person, like when you're in the anime or when you're in the cartoons, like people are like, sometimes it's a thing. It's like, why are you acting white? So like, like sometimes like cartoon culture and nerd culture can also be seen as a, white coded thing sometimes. And I just think like, and I think that comes up a lot in the way that I think about the way I absorb cartoons. And then it kind of made me have more critical eye on, like, not just black representation in cartoons, but like being a black cartoon viewer and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah. For sure. And also like, and it's, I can imagine it's frustrating too, where you're having that kind of opposition from, other black people basically saying like, oh, well, don't act white. Why are you acting white? Nerds are white. And then you have the other side, like where I remember being younger and a lot of like, you would see a lot of shitty white nerds sort of talking crap about black people who would get into cosplaying because they didn't quote unquote look like the characters. And so you're getting this opposition from both sides and it's bullshit.
Yeah, I'm so glad you mentioned that because that was the thing that was on my mind too. Like it's such a large thing in the cosplay community. It's just like, you're the black, like, aside from just like even when you're with your friends and some stuff, sometimes it's like, oh, you're the black Sasuke and whatever. And like, that's fine. But also I'm just black. So, and I like Sasuke, but like more, in a more extreme way. Yeah. It's definitely a thing where like, I don't know. It's more called into question. Like you're identifying as a nerd or like as a true nerd, or it's like somebody who like truly appreciates nerd culture or cartoon culture. Like it's called the question just by your identity of being black sometimes. And
that's also crazy because I feel like there are so many black cartoon fans, especially anime fans.
Oh God, like anime specifically is a huge thing. There was actually a pretty good article that was out, and it was written by this black woman. I'm killing myself because I can't remember her name.
Oh, talking about Michael B. Jordan.
Well, no, was it the article about how like black kids are into Dragon Ball Z?
Yes, that one. Yeah, and I was like, at first, I'm not gonna lie, I was like, I hope this is like, oh, I'm not gonna lie, guys. I was just like, let me see who wrote this. And I was like, okay.
Oh yeah, well, yeah.
It was a black woman. Okay.
Yeah, if it was like just some white guy who's like, hey, I've noticed a bunch of my black friends are into Dragon Ball Z. Like,
well, my black friends like Dragon Ball Z. Let's write about it. And I'm like, no.
What was that voice just now?
It was my hypothetical Brad, I guess.
It was like Marcel the Shell.
Yeah, it was Marcel the Shell.
Amazing.
A little bit. Whoops. Oh, God. But yeah.
Oh my God. You're like the cutest person I know. It's like amazing. I need to do voice acting too, frankly. I just need to put that out there.
Yeah, why are you not a voice actress?
Hey, everyone who's listening to this podcast, hire Nisha for some voice acting work. 'Cause she's very good, as you could hear.
I'm not gonna lie, that'd be pretty fucking dope. Like straight up. Like
terrible.
Yeah, like I don't know, like a lot of my friends have like I've honestly like friends that have like wanted to do pitches, and like I'm meeting more people in the industry now, so people are like, if you got any pitches that you got to do a thing, I mean,
I want you to come up and see me sometime.
Exactly, come up and see me sometime. That's great. That's a throwback. Oh shit, what were we talking? Oh, but yes,
we can. Oh, I'm sorry, don't mean to interrupt you.
Oh.
Well, we can also connect, I think, voice acting in general to like blackness in cartoons, because I think that there are also, like we were talking about Phil LaMarr before, there are some really, really iconic black voice actors as well. Like Kevin Michael Richardson is super. He's another guy
so prolific.
Cree Summers, right?
Yeah.
Or is another, like she's
everything.
Like that's another voice you're gonna hear all the time. And like her, like that was another voice growing up where I'm like, oh god, I know this one. And like especially in like Codename Kids Next Door or something like that, I was just like, absolutely. Like I think that to me was like the role that I was just like, yes. And like so she's one. Oh god, my brain is like killing me that I'm not like pulling these right off the top of my head.
Well, also like if you want to get into features and stuff, like Keith David, and he started out,
yes,
he's like a serious actor, but then he also did like he was the cat, I think, in the Coraline movie, right?
Yes, that was that, and like he actually played a lot of roles in Rick and Morty.
Oh yeah, and he did a ton of video game work too.
Yeah. Oh yes, for sure. I've definitely heard him in video games a lot. But yeah, that's another actor turn, or like I have to look up more, like see how much he like cares about. But he does a great performance. Like every role he's in, he does great.
And also James Earl Jones. Yep. Like if we're going into like broader stuff, like arguably one of the most iconic voice actors of all time.
Oh, for sure, dude. Like and like there's. It's so like I remember growing up and like knowing that these were and at first it starts where you hear them as the black character usually, and like that was another like interesting thing to think about, like because when I was a kid I didn't know who was behind these actual voices, and like when you're grown up like being interested, when you're black growing up being interested in cartoons, you like it's like I don't know, I can't say for everyone else, but you usually assume everyone involved is a white person, or like somebody who's not, that you don't see specifically as black, is like involved in that stuff. But then like when I actually learned that identity, I'm like, wait, it's like it's a black motherfucker playing these roles, and like it's
also like I bet there are a lot of people out there who for a long time didn't like know that Darth Vader was played by a black guy. Like his voice actor is black.
No, yeah, for sure. And like I think there was even a joke made in some comedy show where they were like no, they were like James or It's Always Sunny is where like I heard, because like because
what
Frank,
episode was that?
Because I can't remember the specific episode, but I remember like Frank was like he was like, James Earl Jones is white. Oh, it was whatever episode that they were doing, trying to make another lethal weapon.
Oh, that's a whole other can of worms too.
That is a can of worms. That is, but like at one point they were making the joke. They were like, James Earl Jones. It's like, no, James Earl Jones is black. Like he's.
Oh yeah. I think I remember that now. Yeah.
Yes, and so that's one. That's one in there. But like I will tell you something that like really makes me happy to see, and like it's just that like the shine that like black cartoonists and black creatives are getting now, because like stuff like Craig of the Creek, I'm just like
so good. It's so cute.
It's like it's so fucking adorable.
Also highlighting black nerdy characters too. Like those kids like, finally, like black nerdy kids finally have a character that they can relate to. That also we were talking about Billy and Mandy. I guess there's Irwin, but like
but see, that's the thing. That's the thing in like honestly, usually the black character, like if it's not quote unquote a black show / cartoon, or if it's not about blackness, like usually they're the side character. Usually they're the best friend, or the side, like you think about like Rugrats, like Susie wasn't in that show that much, and then could technically say Kids Next Door, even though she was a very main character. Number 5 was, but think of like almost like all the cartoons. It's like there's always the black best friend, and so like to come across like shows like today that, and there. But here's the thing, though, there are also shows back like when we were like teenagers and stuff that like you forget about, like like Static Shock, and it's just like it's focused on him, stuff like Static Shock. God, there's more.
Also, now I'm thinking. Oh yeah, you were saying, Vin. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's like I don't peek my mouth in that much this episode. Let me get it in. I'm joking, of course, but in the case of like Static Shock, that's a great example of something that I definitely noticed, where it's like, okay, we'll give you the black superhero show, but it's not really going to be connected. Like, it was very loosely connected to that DC animated universe.
No, yeah. It's very, God, my mind's swirling around at like 10,000 miles a minute because, do you guys remember Fillmore?
That sounds super familiar. Yes, Fillmore, because like that was another like character, like black character that's the mainstay, and like I think I'm going off a tangent, but it's still related. Now I have issues with it sometimes, but do you guys know about the Tyler Creator show that came out? Oh, the Jellies?
Yes, the Jellies.
Yeah,
I definitely know about that.
Yeah, so like there's this thing that went viral like before it aired, and he was like at San Diego Comic-Con, I think, and one of the characters, or not one of the characters, sorry, one of the audiences they were doing audience questions, and somebody asked, they were like, "Hey, I love your work, Tyler, blah blah, whatever. Why is the main character black now?" And like, and Tyler went off. He was just like,
I think I saw a clip of it. It was at a panel, and yeah.
Yeah, he was just like, what? Why can't black people have anything? We're just gonna make a character, and he's just black, and he's not playing basketball. He's not a black character. He's just a character, and like that, like I think really sums up like what the frustrations it is when because he also mentioned shows like Static Shock and Fillmore. I think actually in his promo, in the promo for the Jellies, like they were doing like tell us about yourself, main character, and at one point he gets really frustrated. He's just like, you can't cancel the show. What happened to Boondocks? What happened to Static Shock? What happened to Fillmore and stuff like that? And it was like all those shows with like main black protagonists were canceled. Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like the thing that was interesting about being a cartoon viewer and that kind of stuff is that you see these roles kind of like solidified in the way you think about you being a character in a show. Like it's, you're the best friend. You're the, you're the person that's supposed to like just pick them up. Like it's never like a show about you or a show just about you being you. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, it's pretty rare. So like seeing it kind of, I guess I'll say gain popularity, but like just seeing it being like, no, you can make black main characters and it's fine, and like everyone will watch it.
Yeah, like I mean, and I was actually going to bring this up also in general because like I don't think that you can have a conversation about like blackness in cartoons without bringing it up. I watched a lot of Proud Family when I was a kid.
Yep.
And I feel like Proud Family is like one of the quintessential like black cartoons of our time, like cartoons with a main black cast. And also, can I just mention, we were talking about this before, nerdiness and stuff. The nerd character is white, even with the rest of the whole cast being black, the main cast being black.
Yeah. That's like, that's some stuff that unpacked too through that. And it's interesting because, oh God, it like, I think like people, I feel like, I know at least in the black community, nerd cartoon community, but I feel like people are sometimes split on Proud Family because the thing that's great about Proud Family is like, yes, it's these black ass characters just being themselves in this black environment, but like sometimes people have mixed feelings about it because it's kind of like when you watch Blackish nowadays versus like I don't know, something like Atlanta, it's like people question, like, you know, is Proud Family like it's doing stuff about blackness, and it's great, and you can, like, as a black person, you can empathize for it, but is it also just, is there something underlying that's just making the blackness digestible for, like, white viewers? You know what I mean?
Well, it's that limited scope.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you're not sure. Like, at least I can't say for sure, but like there's so much. Like I love that. I love that show, and I love it for those reasons. But it's just one of those things that, like, as you get older and you, like, see, like, black representation, you kind of examine it. You're like, is it tailored for white gaze, or is it just them trying to be genuinely black? And sometimes it's blurry, but sometimes it's plainly obvious, and it's like, you know what I mean?
Well,
I mean, Penny is like. Go ahead. Penny is a very like super clean cut and, like, light skinned main character, and I think that's definitely, like, a telling sign. Like, well, you know, like, you got to make her marketable, like, that kind of thing.
No, for
and
sure.
And then her dark skinned friend was always, like, the kind of like
they did the, like, quote unquote ratchet best friend.
Yeah,
it's like those, of course, yes, those people exist, but, like, you know, there's sometimes a danger in, like, perpetuating, like, stuff, perpetuating stuff like colorism and, like, you know, how you think about, like, dark skinned people and stuff, and you know what I mean. So
even the darker skinned baby was kind of treated a bit as a joke.
Yeah, a little bit, and, like,
think about this way before now. Thank you.
no, it's interesting because it's a thing that I think a lot about, and, like. And in the midst of, like, seeing these fucking badass, these awesome cartoons, like, come out and, like, have, like, even in Steven Universe, like, you know, you have, like, the black main character, like the pizza family, and I think they're
from a specific African nation.
Yeah, I don't want to. I'm not gonna say it because I don't want to.
Senegalese, is it? No.
Yeah, I'm not.
I know. I don't want to be wrong. Wait, pizza. I gotta look it up.
Bitch pizza. Steven Universe.
Ghana.
There we go.
There we go.
Bad though.
Yeah, I feel. Yeah, apologize. Big apologies. Yeah.
But yeah. So, like, you know, just representing them as just them being them. It's like. Yeah, you know what I mean? It's like you're not a stereotype, and, like, and then you know, because you look at like number 5, and, like, it's like, for me that was such an important, like seeing, like, number 5 on Codename Kids Next Door was, like, so awesome, because like her personality itself was, like, she was the smart one, she was the one that, like, you know,
she also had her moments of vulnerability too.
Yeah, like, she was, like, a complex character that, like, stood out through that stuff. So, like, there are, like, moments in which, you know, seeing that represent it, like, you know, people talk about it like it's not. It's like, it means, like, a lot, especially when, like, cartoons aren't, like, you know, especially when cartoons, like, being in a cartoon is not very often seen as a black thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like.
Well, also, it's different. I think once you're in the industry, like, your perspective on that completely shifts, though, because, like, I've been working in comics and, like, more inside the cartoon industry for a few years now, and it's like so many black artists out here are doing incredible things, and it is absolutely a black thing to be into cartoons. 100%. If you don't think that being into cartoons is a black thing, then you aren't paying attention.
Yeah, you've been living on their freaking route, because
completely. Like, are you joking? And, like, yeah, and I feel like cartoons being, like, we've seen cartoon motifs in hip hop for so long, like hip hop fashion and street fashion too. Yeah.
Well, it's weird because, like, when stuff like, because you hit on something very important, I think, that, you know, whenever you see, like, animation in a black music video or in black culture, sometimes when you finally see it, or when the mainstream audience finally sees it, they see it as, like, this radical thing, like, oh my God, where has this been my whole life? This is so cool.
Like, in Kanye's Stronger video.
Right, exactly. And it's like, well, this has been here this whole time. It's just, it's been untapped because you haven't tapped it yet. Like, you haven't let it become a successful thing. But then that could be a double-edged sword as well, where it's like, okay, now something's popular, so white people have their hands on it and now they're going to appropriate it.
It's just like it's difficult. It's definitely like when you're, I feel like this is like, now we're breaking into like being a creative in general. And it's just like when you're like, like, of course, like Black Panther has to come up because it just has to. But like, me and like friends like see the beauty and like amazingness in Black Panther and like the great things that it's doing and all this stuff. But there is that double-edged sword, like you were saying, then in that like, okay, now this is a just for white audience, and like, are people going to see it? Like, I've seen Black Panther now, so I get it. You know what I mean? Like the danger in that, and like,
well, it's that weird like white mentality of like, oh, I've engaged with this one piece of like
culture,
Black media, like one piece, and then suddenly that means like, well, obviously this is my badge showing that I'm okay with Black people. It's like,
yeah, exactly. It's so there's that underlying danger, and like I think, like, yeah, I got a message, but anyway, but I think I think that is that's the reason why the representation is important. It's like, I like in stuff like Craig of the Creek and in stuff like, shows like Atlanta and stuff. It's just like, you're just seeing these characters just be characters, and there's no like, agenda to make it digestible. There's no trying to do this stuff. And like, though there are the dangers of like, there are the dangers of like, I get it now, like from from my people, but
I think it's also an issue of failure more than success, because if Black Panther had come out and then failed, everyone, all the people higher up would be like, well, we tried it, but people just don't want a Black superhero. Meanwhile, how many white superheroes come out, bomb, then get and never try? It's the argument it's the argument I go back to with, I don't know if, Mady, I don't know if I was talking with you about this or with someone else, but with like shitty teen comedies from like the early 2000s, where it's like, how many of those were there that just like made only like $10 to $15 million, but they kept.
I don't think you were talking to me about this, but I know what you're talking about.
But like they kept cranking them out, and it's like, how are you cranking out so many loss leaders? Like, why are you letting this like predominantly, pretty much exclusively white genre, like get second chance after second chance after second chance?
And that, I think the big thing in that, and it's this myth, right? It's this myth that, if we make a thing with a Black character, if we make a Black something, like people aren't going to digest it. So like, it's this issue where
that is the biggest fucking lie.
The biggest lie, because we consume so much. Like, we're such a big part of the market, right?
It's gotta just be good. I tell people this all the time with the Ghostbusters reboot, where it's like, you know what? I went into it, and honestly, I didn't think it was a great movie. Just didn't think it was a great movie. Thought it had great special effects. Could have used more humor. Wasn't that funny? But regardless of the fact that I think it kind of sucked, women should still get another chance at making that kind of a movie.
That is the thing. That is exactly. It's the issue. It's. I hear it said so much, and it's that with non-Black media or traditionally white media, you. God damn it! Now I'm losing the thing. But it's just like Black creators have to provide proof before they can actually,
and like, and I completely understand what you mean, and like, it's frustrating as well, because like, just because a character is different than someone who might be watching the show doesn't mean that character is like somehow unrelatable. Like. Yeah. It makes the character interesting because they might be coming from a different place or like a different perspective.
Well, I mean, and that's the thing. It's just like, you can like, so it's like, I've heard that like people critique, like be extra harsh on things like I can't relate to, and it's just like, hold on, you're telling me you can relate to like a dwarf that doesn't like this like phantasmal dwarf and a dragon, but you can't relate to like an African prince, like,
Well, like, that's like my I always like, telling people, like when I was growing up, a lot of the shows I was exposed to, just by the fact that I was like lower middle class and my parents weren't around all the time, so I was sort of raised on what I was seeing on TV and what I was being exposed to. That a lot of why I ended up kind of being raised by was a lot of black sitcoms that I gravitated towards. And it's fun. Like, I love Living Single. I love A Different World. I think The Cosby Show can eat all of my ass. I think that A Different World is a million times better. And, you know, Martin. And I just grew up on these things. And I don't know, like, every time I talk to, like, certain white people about it, they're like, oh, why were you watching that? It's like, because it was fucking good. What do you mean, like, why was I watching that?
That was on TV. Because, like, that was a bit too early for me to have been, like, aware. But I remember watching In Living Color on my friend's VCR. And, like, I, on the other hand, grew up as in a really, really, really super duper duper homogenous white neighborhood on the East Coast, and it was really, really suffocating. And my family was kind of like an outlier in the area, just like economically, and also, you know, I was a weird kid, and, you know, and I was pretty clearly queer from an early age, whatever that might mean. But people were clocking me at like age 10.
People were clocking me.
But, like, no, they were clocking me as queer, but like.
They're going 28 queers an hour. We're clocked them.
28 radar. They were pointing the radar gun at me, like beep beep beep. This one's really gay. But as a result, like, I had super limited sort of scope of what A was being taught to me, and B, what I had like access to in my area, because it was, like I said, super white and super homogenous. I think there were only there were very few kids who were non-white in my school, and I think there were only 2 black kids in my school, which was fucking
whoa, in the whole school.
Well, you know what? I got you beat, because I had 1 black kid in my school.
I got you beat.
Jesus, and it's stupid that this shit. This is a different show, but that's allowed to happen. But like, I left my school district in high school to go to a different high school in a completely different part of completely different town, and that school was in this, like, the city around my area, and as a result, white kids were the minority in the school, and my whole life, just like my whole perspective on everything, just like completely shifted, and it terrifies me to think that there could have been a timeline where that didn't happen.
You were just like, you're like, wait a second, there was. What's wrong with Proud Family? I don't get it.
It's amazing how, like, in these insular, like, white communities, how just so much of what's actually happening in the world, and like how many other just types of people get completely shut out.
No,
and
yeah,
people don't get taught about it. Like, I was just talking to my partner, DJ, about how I didn't even learn that there was a genocide against Native American people until I was in high school, and I'm Native American. Like,
yep.
Like, but my family comes from the whole Canadian area, so it's different for our family. But like,
no, dude, no, it's that kind of stuff. It's not that kind of stuff is not taught. Like, even when you go to things like the like Native American genocide, and you go to things like slavery, and it's a blip in the history. You know what I mean? It's a blip in what's taught.
What actually happened during slavery? We were taught the majority of what I know about slavery, I learned post college, and that's fucking
exactly
post.
Yeah, it's really kind of frightening, because I'm the same way. Where, like, when I went to college, that's when I really started learning some shit. And it shocked me how much, like, middle school and high school textbooks are basically, like, still teaching, like, myths.
Yeah. Oh, fuck yeah. Well, I had a mini breakdown like a year or so ago about realizing how much of the shit that was taught to me in my life was just straight up not true.
Yeah.
But I guess, like, to some people, they're like, well, it sounds good, and it's like, but it's not true.
It's just I think what it is, and I think this kind of relates back to everything. I think what it is that, like, there's this part of society that doesn't think people are quote unquote ready to know about something, whether it be an actual history, or whether it be like getting to know just a Black character, or whether it be getting to know just a queer character that's represented to them, people think, oh, people are not going to be able to understand. And it's just like, of course they're not, because you're not exposing people to stuff, you know what I mean? It's just like yeah.
Like, you remember The Giver, that book we had to read in school? Did you have to read The Giver?
I did not.
Oh, shit. Well, it was a book, and it was fucking fucked up because we were told about this shit in school, in my school. It was just in the stupid, like, super, super insular, like, super white school that I went to. It was bullshit. And it's a book literally about, like, being in a quote unquote, like, I said quote unquote so much in this episode, fuck this, utopia kind of society, and, like, there are certain things that are kept from people, like creative things, and everyone's given a job, and it's supposed to like be equalizing, but as a result you don't learn anything about anybody, and you have no like greater context. And the main character basically is like the avatar of that universe, like gaining the consciousness. But it's that whole idea of like you see a lot of like futuristic worlds where like everybody is the same, and everyone's a kind of like intermediate skin tone, and everyone is that kind of homogenous, like quote unquote multicultural utopian kind of situation. But then people lose their identity, and people lose what makes them interesting and what makes the world interesting.
Well, that's why I think everything just ends up having to be on like a case-by-case basis.
Oh, yeah.
Like, because certain cases, and we'll go back to Black Panther for an example. Say, okay, Black Panther's getting popular now, so, the good news is probably Hollywood's going to make more black blockbuster movies. Okay, that's good. The bad side of it might be that they're going to be super watered down because now white people have their claws in it. That's bad.
Capitalism, yay!
So it's like, any of you but the good news might. Yes, we all have claws.
I have claws. Ben has claws. Every single white person has claws.
I think and like, real quick, I think don't be funny about it. Like, I was talking to me and my friend had left back like our third viewing of Black Panther, and like a guy was outside of the theater with us, and he's like, "You gotta watch out for those white people now. If they're in the sun too long, they peel like snakes." And I was like, "Whoa!" I was like, "Damn, dude."
What?
It's a lot easier.
I was like, "Oh shit!" But anyway, sorry, Ben. I interrupted you.
Are gone. Baby soft skin. Once I shed my skin, my acne will never be a problem again.
Oh my god! But yeah, going back to Black Panther from white people shedding we're lizard people is what we're saying.
No, I'm Jewish. You can't say that.
But yeah, Black Panther.
You can't call me a lizard person.
So Black Panther comes out. It's a hit. Good news is black people are going to get more blockbusters. Bad news is white people are going to probably make shitty blockbusters. But possible good news, maybe but the possible good news, maybe some of those blockbusters will be good. Like, we don't know yet, but some of them definitely will be bad. So it's that weird thing of like, okay, now black people are having their moment, but how long is that moment going to last, and will it get perverted? And those are the questions that we kind of know the answers to, but someone might catch a lucky break in the future and break that cycle.
And
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt you, Tanisha. Go ahead.
No, it's all good. Like that's the. I think it just goes all back to which is that like having to stomp out that misconception of like we need proof before we can like make more black things. And even it's like that's the issue with that argument is that, and this is not just in entertainment, but like every time like a black person makes it to the bar gets raised. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like that's the issue that we have to confront that problem.
Oh yeah, because like Black Panther is one of the like 5 highest grossing movies ever now. And people are still going to be like, oh, well, you know, this new black blockbuster, it's only the 17th highest grossing movie ever. Looks like the trend's over, black people. It's like, well...
Yeah, exactly. Like, the bar is just going to get raised more and more. It's just like, oh, this didn't Black Panther. Or if, let's say it does, and it's just going to have to keep raising that bar. Then the narrative gets changed when it comes to black entertainment. And, like, I think that's something that people are, like, still not comfortable with actually admitting that that's, you know, something that's entangled with, you know, being a black creative, you know?
I think that's tenfold for cartoons as well.
For sure. Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
It's like, I think that it's wrapped up in, you know, culture being very exclusively white, and then just like it being available to the education about illustrators, like being even able to like that sect is like something that's like crazy. And then I'm not even talking about going to art school. I'm talking about like fucking like buying art supplies. You know what I mean? So like, and like, you know, I'm not trying to like generalize like the experience of like black artists, but like, you know, socioeconomic factors, I'm sure, like play a part in that kind of stuff.
But it's a reality, as we do live in a time with socioeconomic inequality and systematic oppression, and that is a reality.
Well, it's just a fact that if you live in a predominantly white neighborhood, you know, people are probably making a little more money. That money goes back into taxes. Those taxes are paying for the schools. White neighborhoods have, quote unquote, better schools, and they're getting more supplies.
Yeah, so like, you know, it's the with the cartooning industry, it's wrapped up like, geez, like it's a fucking minefield going into like comics in relation to like black artistry. Like that is like and I'm talking about like not more in an indie style, but even like going to like being like a more like a mainstream comic artist, and like being black is like a fucking minefield, because it's just like you said, you can't, and I'm not saying be mediocre, but like as like a person of color or as a brown person or as any like kind of minority, you can't be mediocre. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, exactly. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that also translates a little bit into queerness as well. I think that as a queer person and as a queer creator, I think there's a similar pressure in a lot of ways. But I think that, you know, if you're black, especially if you're black and queer. Yeah. And also, I feel like if you're a black creator, you're also always going to have that like signifier, like that qualifier before your work too. Like it's not illustration, it's black illustration. Situations that'll never just be seen as illustration because of the society we live in. That's kind of fucked up.
Yeah, and it's a mixed bag, because like for me personally, as a like black animator, it's like there is, I think honestly for most of like my cartoon, like I just want to make gross shit, and like that's like that's my like shit right there. But like it's, and I can't say if it's just because I know the issues that black animator cartoonists like face in the industry, but like there's also a part of me that wants like, hey, I want to point out like these injustices. I want to like make this stuff like, you know, known, because because I don't know, me personally, sometimes it feels like it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't. It's like if you're not trying to elevate, then people are gonna like judge you for that. But also, if you're just trying to do your own thing, people are gonna judge you for that. So like, there's also that like underlying pressure with being a black creative.
This expectation of excellence or nothing.
Yeah, like and that might be excellence in like you know what I mean. Like there's also like, you know, you're not. There's this like, you know, why aren't you making black stuff? Like, why aren't you making black stuff? You know what I mean?
Yeah, because you do a lot of Rick and Morty fan art, and I'm sure that you've received criticism for doing stuff like that, for drawing characters in a predominantly white show.
It's like I think the thing that I get nervous about is that it's like, you know, it is you're doing something that's not generally, I guess the best way I put it, like not generally seen as for you or seen as something that you're into. But I mean, it's a lot different nowadays, but like still, there's still that stigma. And then there's also like, if you're not elevating the culture as well, like there's this pressure that like you're felt as a black creative. And I think people need to like just destigmatize all these stereotypes and stuff, and just is like, I'm black and I'm an animator and I'm doing it, and sometimes I'm doing it for the culture, and sometimes I'm drawing a stinky butt.
Yeah, exactly. For every Black Panther, there needs to be a stinky butt.
Exactly.
Okay, I think that goes back to, I think it's, most people I think are savvy enough now to judge things on a case-by-case basis and go, okay, this person's being genuine. It's not like they're purposefully excluding, doing quote-unquote black art or doing
They're not
queer
trying to
art.
They're not trying to commoditize it either.
Yeah. No. Yeah, that's. Yeah, I think it like, I will say that I'm grateful in seeing, like, I can't imagine being like some of these cartoons in their like 40s and stuff, and like I think there's actually going to be a talk sometime soon, like with one of like the first like black animators at Disney and stuff. Like, I can't imagine like being in that environment at that time. You know what I mean? So
God, yeah. Even being a Jewish animator at Disney.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Which is crazy because some of the first and I, like I said earlier, I'm a Jew. Hooray, l'chaim. But it's crazy because some of the most notable like early animators in America were Jews, and also like were Jews influenced by black artists. To be fair.
Oh,
like,
yeah, dude.
All the basically early animated music videos to Cab Calloway. Like, come on.
Yeah, dude. Like, it's one of those things that people like tend to. I don't know.
Animation's been from the very beginning.
Like, we've been there. Come on, y'all. Seriously.
Exactly. Cab Calloway's moves have been in Betty Boop. Like, come on.
No, yeah, seriously, and like, yeah, I just think that like that my brain's going like a mile a minute. But
so much to cover. We only have such a limited amount of time. But like,
no, yeah, I just want to like pack everything in there. But
we're also gonna have to wrap up too, which is a shiggity shame.
Shiggity shame is so fun.
Oh. Well, I'm sure we'll find another opportunity to invite you back on here because you've been an amazing co-host.
What?
You've been an amazing co-host, I said.
She has.
Been a fantastic co-host.
Aw, you guys.
You're gonna take Tara Strong's job. Watch out.
I know, really. Look, they're not rehired. They didn't rehire her for Powerpuff Girls. You could.
Hey,
she's doing that was a dig, Vin. But she's kicking it hard as Baby Sunny in Series of Unfortunate Events.
I love Tara Strong. She's just so excitable and pleasant.
Oh,
she can be great. She can be too much, but I think that's the way it is when you do squeaky voices.
Yes.
I can't imagine how like fucking like anytime I do a squeaky voice, I'm just like like I gotta go like gargle.
No, that voice, the duck voice is so upsetting.
I feel like
garbage disposal.
I feel like anytime I try to do Donald Duck, it just sounds like I'm strangling. Like,
oh, that was Cartoon Buffoon.
What is going on?
Well, here, I'm really sweaty, everyone.
Same though. When I talk about things I like, I just turn into a stinky.
No.
I just turned into a ball of stink. And now the internet knows I am a stinky girl.
Was it SpongeBob? I'm stinky and I'm proud.
Oh, yeah, I'm stinky and I'm proud. I am stinky and I'm proud.
I'm a big old weenie hut junior.
No.
Well, we have been talking for quite some time, and I think we could all be in need of a bath.
What a great!
What a sentence!
I am so glad it is. That's great. Talking about the stink. That's a great. I'm so happy about that.
We'll leave everyone with the stink. Our stinky trail the podcast will be over, but the stink will
live
remain.
on.
Stink will remain. We got to get smell-o-vision, guys.
Yeah, seriously, cartoon buffoons, smell-o-vision, smell our pits.
We'll put out scratch and sniff stickers.
Or we could just tell our audience to just like hold an onion while like hold an onion and like as we talk more, just like slowly continue to peel it, like just representing the stink just getting bigger.
And then they'll start crying.
Each time we're listening to this episode, every time when someone says "quote unquote," take a bite of a raw onion.
But then like it's gonna have the effect of them like crying while listening about the Proud Family. Like
we're talking about serious shit. It's time to cry.
This is serious. This has been Cartoon Buffoons.
This has been Cartoon Buffoons.
This is NPR, and you've been listening to Cartoon Buffoons. And up next is Tiny Desk Concerts.
That's my papers.
That's my papers.
Up next, Terry Gross will be interviewing Tyler, the Creator, and
we're gonna talk about cartoons and farts.
We're gonna talk about.
Let's invite Ira Glass back in to play us out here.
Here we go. Ira Glass is gonna come and tell you a story about lamp filaments. And
this has been Cartoon Buffoons. I'm Ira Glass.
I am also Ira Glass. This has been great being on the show.
Oh my God, we're all Ira Glass.
Oh,
This episode has ended with the Ira Glass gas.
oh, guess what? Ira Glass is hosting the show from now on. Hey everyone, it's Vin, just getting some plugs out of the way. If you'd like to follow Mady G over on Twitter, their Twitter is Mady G Comics. If you'd like to support them, patreon.com/Mady G, and also go to MadyG.com. Also, Tynesha Foreman, the lovely, lovely Tynesha Foreman, does great work for The Atlantic. You can check them out over at nearshotarts.com, as well as Nearshot on Twitter. Now, on Twitter, that's Nearshot with a 0 instead of an O in the shot. So go ahead and check them out. Once again, that's Tynesha Foreman over at Nearshot on Twitter and nearshotarts.com. Now, if you want to follow me, I'm on Twitter at MightyVin. You can also go to daps.tv to check out the other podcasts that I do, Anytime with Vin Forte, which was on a bit of a spring break. We'll be coming back this week. Got some fun stuff planned for that. And with all of that said, like, share, and subscribe to this YouTube channel for more cartoon buffoonery. Go check out past episodes on the YouTube channel. And with all that done, we will see you next time. Goodbye.